good morning time, good evening time, good afternoon time, whatever the case may be in your part of the world. Crisscrossing wires. And today I want to talk about what it takes to run 30K on an e-bike, because it is nowhere near as easy as just going out getting a BAC 8000 and think you're going to be running 30K. Okay? Not only that, I want to say to the three guys that bought my competition race batteries off the muscle, congratulations to the three of you guys. You probably will have the only crisscrossing wire competition Racepacks out there, because from now on I don't think anybody will pay what I would charge to build another one. And that being said, let me explain, let me go further in what I was about to say. Now, just getting the BAC 8000 and trying to achieve running 30K, whether you want to call it peak, RMS, whatever the case, 30 kilowatts is 30 kilowatts. I don't care how you put it. The math is the math. It works out all the same. 30 kilowatts takes 72 volts minimum and about 450 amps minimum. That being said, ain't gonna be too many guys running 30K on an e-bike. First of all, like I just said, 450 amps don't come cheap. If you were to purchase a battery, a big battery from Lightspeed, Chai Battery, Powerful Lithium, any of those battery places, the biggest, most powerful output batteries that they sell, of their regular series batteries that anyone can purchase, they're about 300 amps output, discharge amps, not the amp hour. They sell large amp hour rating, and normally if they're using mile cells, the amp hour rating is going to be relative to the discharge rate anyway, because it takes a certain amount of cells in parallel to give you a high amp hour, that many batteries in P in parallel. At the same time, if you're using mile cells, which are 45 amp discharge rate, they're going to give you a sufficient amount of DC line amps. However, that will still be determined on the BMS, because those battery places like that, they're not going to sell a battery without a BMS, even on the discharge side. So I'm pretty sure they're not selling too many batteries with BMSs over 300 amps. If you go and do some research on a BMS that can handle 300 plus discharge amps, that BMS, if it's a good one, is going to cost about $500 or $600, $300 minimum, and that's just a basic inexpensive one. But you want Bluetooth and all that, yeah, with a fan and all that kind of good stuff, you're looking at $400 or $500 just for the BMS. So it's kind of funny, when I initially was talking about building my Racepacks, knowing that my initial packs had to be, in my mind, inexpensive to get people to even try them out, it's hilarious that when I told people that I wanted to charge $1,000 labor plus parts, I had guys in the comment section like, that's ridiculous, that's insane, I'm not paying $1,000, when actually they will pay more than $1,000 if they go to one of those other places. Okay, go to any of those battery places and tell them you need a battery capable of 450 amps discharge rate, and see how much that battery costs. An average price of a battery 40 amp hour that's capable of just 300 amps discharge is a $2,500 battery all day long. Like I said, you're forgetting you're using top quality cells, mostly mild cells for one thing. Then you need a 300 plus amp BMS, $400 or $500, and the labor, which is why those batteries are $2,500. Now the three guys that bought my competition race batteries paid less than that for a battery that they were all different, but let's just say on an average, those batteries could output 500 DC line amps minimum. So one could do the same as mine, 630 DC line amps. Okay, so when you figure them guys bought their own cells and materials and paid me $1,000, they got a battery for around the same price or cheaper than one of those batteries. But like I said, people scoffed at my price on it. And let me tell you, after I made those three batteries and the amount of work that was involved, I will never do it again for that price. So you three guys got a great price. It'll never happen again. And I don't care if I never sell another battery again, to be honest. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't make me no, never mind. People need what they need. And as I was going to say, at the same time, when I'm talking about this 30K, that's the reason why when it comes to racing and competition, I'm not worried about too much competition. For one, the only competition I'm going to really have out there is from other builders. Because if you're not a builder from ground up, meaning building the battery and everything else and then assembling your own bike, purchasing a bike that's capable of that is going to cost you an arm, a couple arms, and a couple legs. In fact, you really got to go and price electric motorcycles to get that type of power. And you go out and price a 0FS, something in that range, because that's what it's going to take to you know, have the amount of acceleration that I'm getting out of my bike. Now here's another thing for all the trolls and everything out there that, you know, wanted to hold me to my goal, which was trying to reach 100 miles per hour, which initially was my goal, because I too was looking at it the wrong way in the beginning by saying when I wanted a fast bike and I wanted it to be 100 miles per hour, but putting it that way was the wrong way to put it, because like I try to tell people all the time, 100 miles per hour can be reached by a lot of different bikes with a lot less power. Okay, you can run a high voltage system with low amps and reach 100 miles per hour. However, it might take you 3 miles worth of road to do it and a couple minutes to get there. All right, regardless of what the top speed of this bike is, because I'm using 72 volts, which requires a shit ton of amps, is what gives this bike the incredible acceleration that it has. You guys have no clue how fast this bike really accelerates. Whether the top speed is 100 miles an hour or 85 miles an hour, the fact that it gets there lickety split is what wins a race. For one thing, most of the time when people race, they're only going to race, most of the time races ain't even a quarter mile. but it takes at least a quarter mile to get up to around 100 miles an hour. If you look at most V8 cars, petrol automobiles, look at that quarter mile times. Most of them cars doing 13, 14, 15 seconds, and a quarter mile. At a quarter mile, they're up around 80, 90, 100 miles an hour. It takes at least that distance to reach that speed, unless you really in a rocket ship, you know. But this bike will do a quarter mile right now without me being able to launch it fully, because of I don't have that long swing arm on here yet, and the front end will lift up, so I got to take off easy. I still can reach a quarter mile in 13.5 seconds, because after I get going, it accelerates that fast. The first eighth of a mile may be slow, but that second eighth of a mile is a whole lot faster. And that's just because I'm trying to keep the front end down. Now, back to what it takes to run 30K. Like I said, just buying a BAC or a big far driver is only part of it, because those large controllers require a lot of power, a lot of discharge amps. So be prepared to buy a huge battery, and then you need a motor that can handle that type of power. 30K is going to burn up the average 205. I don't care if you put heat sinks, ferro fluid, and all that, you know, because the physical size of it. Just the physical size differences in the size of a 273 and a 205, the physical characteristics alone, the amount of metal and you know, involved in that, being able to dissipate the heat, the volume of the motor itself, the airspace, you know, the metal that's in the stator, all that involved in releasing, dissipating that heat. 205 is a lot smaller form factor, which is why the heat builds up faster in a 205, and which is why they are subject to burn up faster. All right, so a 273 can cool down a lot faster. So you need a large controller. You're talking $1,000 to $2,000 for a controller. A good $600 to $1,000 for the motor, and then the most expensive thing, a 450 amp battery. If you don't build it yourself, it's going to cost you at least $3,000, $3,500, $4,000 for a battery like that. My battery that I built for this bike is 56 amp hour, because it's 14P. It's a 14P battery with Lashin cells that are 45 amp cells, 20S, 14P, that's 630 DC discharge amps, 56 amp hour, 4.4 kilowatt hours. It's a huge pack. Now, like I said, go request to have one built and see what the cost of that is. The fact that I told the guys in the beginning, if they buy their cells, I charge them $1,000, and those batteries came out to a little under $2,500. Congratulations to you guys, because I'll never do it again for that price. So you guys made out. People can talk about my packs, say whatever they want to say. You won't get another one for that price that you scoffed at. Anyway, that's what I want to tell you guys, and just know what's involved if you're trying to run that type of power. Does everyone need that type of power? No. No, I say all the time that I was building a race bike. And again, for you 100-mile-per-hour trolls, racing is how fast you can accelerate, start at the finish line and start at the starting line and get to the finish line. Whether you hit 100 miles an hour in that time period doesn't mean a damn thing, okay? Like I said, acceleration. And the fact that I've maxed out this BAC 8000 to its complete output power, 840 phase amps. Do you know what that acceleration feels like? Man, let me tell you. Trust me. You ain't gonna be worrying about the top speed. You need worry about how fast this thing is getting off the line and getting down to the end of the track. So at this point, like I said, I don't even care to let my other competition know how fast that is. And as I said, it's not really going to be too much competition, honestly, because at the end of the day, like I said, unless you're building everything, I don't see too many people paying that kind of money, just flat out. That is why it's so important to be able to DIY. If you do it yourself, you can save yourself a ton of money. Could I have bought a bike like this? Well, yeah, I probably could have bought a bike like this, but the question is, would I? Would I have? Hell no. Would I have paid that kind of money for this type of bike? Hell no. So yeah, there's that. So like I said, unless you're you know, a rich guy and got pockets full of money, and you know, you was born with a silver spoon stuck up your butt or in your mouth, whatever the case may be, you know, then you can afford it. Or you go out there and finance electric motorcycle and pay payments on it. But to go out there and straight up buy a bike that's $12,000-$15,000, I don't see too many people doing that. All right, y'all, take it easy, take care. Like I said, for those 3 guys that bought my batteries, because I just wanted to sell some packs to get it out there. At some point, I expect those guys will come forward out there and you know, say just how good those packs are performing, and know that they got a steal for sure. Absolutely, because they hopped and jumped in on the early stage of my first battery builds, which I'm sure will, you know, in the future I have some better tech, possibly, but for what they got, they're doing what they need to do. They perform well, and they're safe batteries that they won't have any issues with. All right, not only that, as far as my battery, just my battery does not have a BMS, because I am the battery monitoring system and I am the battery management system. Should everybody run a battery that way? Hell no. Do I recommend that? Hell no. Would I sell a battery like that? Hell no. I am an anal guy that works on his bike and monitors everything full time, all the time. When my bike is charging, I'm monitoring the voltage. I do have a BMS on the charge side to monitor with, but as far as on the discharge side, no. And I wouldn't even think about buying a $600 BMS, which is the type of BMS I would need for this amount of output power. No, not paying no $600 for a BMS when I'm the BMS. I'm the battery management and monitoring system. All right, y'all, that's it. Take it easy. Deuces, I'm out.